Welcome to Thrones and Scones. It's your weekday morning podcast where we talk about Game of Thrones over breakfast. It's not important what we said right before we started recording. What is important is that, guys, Game of Thrones is back. Oh my gosh. Did you know this was coming? I feel like this came out of nowhere.
Jesus Christ.
All of a sudden, Sunday evening, HBO's just like, hey guys, surprise, Game of Thrones. And everyone around the world was taken by surprise. They're like, we did not know this was happening. Oh my gosh. I don't know. I mean, Hans lives in the Great White North. Jeremy said that he had pretty nice weather. But here, where I am in central Illinois, we have had beautiful 70-degree weather for days. We were 70 today. We'll be in the 80s tomorrow. But yesterday, we got 2 inches of snow right out of the gate, right in the morning, because, ladies and gentlemen, winter is here. And I'm excited to talk about it. I assume, by you guys joining me for this conversation here, by the way, Tony, Hans, and Jeremy, chatting with you, that you guys watched the new episode of Game of Thrones? Because I know when we talked last, we were like iffy. We didn't know if we were going to check it out.
I just checked it out.
You checked it out? You
just
thought
rolled
you'd
the
give it a chance?
die. Thought, why not? First kind of like, first time watching the show. It was all right. It's all right.
Yeah?
I may
First
go
time
back,
watching the show at all?
I may go back and catch a couple
Yeah, that seems fair.
eps here and there.
Do you guys want me to read the plot of the episode?
There's a plot. Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So it's season 8, episode 1, by the way. When I watched it live, it didn't have a title on HBO Now or whatever. It wouldn't show me a title. It just said season 8, episode 1. So I only found out moments ago that the title of the episode was Winterfell. Little lackluster, if I'm honest, but it's, fitting enough. And a short little plot here. Guys, you only have 6 left. So if you have any requests for me, now's the time.
Have you played Sekiro?
No, but I got the gist.
This is the panga.
The greater war has come. The wall that has protected the 7 kingdoms has fallen, and the Night King's army of the dead marches towards Urutoros. I feel like we've done this, and we've established after we did it that it was just not funny and racist.
No, I
Nah, didn't get it. Didn't get
I
that.
think honestly it was
felt
pretty
funny
spot
and
on.
racially appropriate.
Totally.
Cool. Oh, cool. Guys, I'm a little disappointed. I mean, again, geographically speaking, it wasn't going to happen. I would have loved to have watched this with you fellas, but I hope that whatever situations you got up to, that they were sufficient, whether you were huddled over your phone on a toilet, public toilet, in a TGI Fridays restroom, or whether you were watching in your, well-lit surround sound basement with vibrating, ass-shaking chairs, like Jeremy.
Always.
I hope it was a good experience for you, and I want to just... Should we take it top down? There's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Starting with, I got to get your new thoughts on this brand new intro. Like, we've had updates here and there. This is completely retooled. It looks different. The animation's different. The music is different, and I think it's longer.
Yeah. So the animation, I had to pause and rewind it a couple times because I was trying to catch all the locations. But I think that they kind of explain where the entire season is going to be focused between King's Landing and Winterfell. And they show and focus a lot in the crypts. And I think we talked about this last time about how we think the crypts are going to play a key in this season. And I feel like the intro really gives us that is going to be a focus.
I think that if that's true, and if that is a bit of foreshadowing, I mean, we also saw the basement of the Red Keep.
Right.
Is that saying, are we going to raise some skeleton dragons?
Yes. And I think that's going to be awesome.
I think they're just skulls at this point, but could you imagine, like, you know how, like, you were a kid and you had that little toy that was teeth on legs? Mm-hmm. And it would just, you'd wind it up and it would snap about and you'd, like, try not to get bit. that's what it would be like, but on excessive psychedelic drugs.
And I don't know, have we seen like a complete skeleton? Like, we've seen some pretty, rough looking skeleton, like with a lot of flesh still on them, but have we gotten just straight skeletons?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think the ones right when Bran and the Reeds got to the cave, those were pretty much all bone.
Okay. Yeah.
Because especially when they came through the little barricade, they just like turned into femurs and ribs and shit.
Okay. I was trying to remember that.
But yeah, I liked the intro. I kind of disagree as far as like, oh, this is where the action's going to be centered. I think right from the get-go, you see the cool hole in the wall, which was dope.
It was awesome.
And then you see like the ice moving. And then you get to the last hearth pretty much, which, spoiler, at the end of the episode, we're going to kind of see, an interaction with that. I think that this is going to continue to just move with, and that, slowly but surely, whoever had the theory that maybe, just maybe, I think it was Rob, that people are going to, start abandoning places and we're going to slowly push down south.
Yeah.
I think that might have some merit to it.
Yeah.
If the intro is anything to go by.
Right.
Hans, what did you think?
Well, as someone who almost exclusively skips the intro to the regular show, I did watch this one. Okay. Again, it's been so long since I've actually watched the intro that I knew it was different, but I didn't even really know how different it was, to be honest. I thought it was good though. I've always enjoyed the intros. I think it's a cool thing. I thought this one more than the other one was even more reminiscent of the Westworld intro though, which I don't know why.
Yeah,
it was just a little more similar.
The style of it is much less. I mean, it's still obviously got the clockwork like animation type thing, but the actual aesthetic of it is a bit more on that. Yeah, I get the Westworld connection for sure.
Yeah, and like I said, I can't even necessarily put my finger on exactly why, but I was thinking Westworld intro when I was watching it.
Did we say on the show the theory that we're just in one of the Westworld?
No, but that's
worlds?
Excellent.
I think that was you that brought that up.
I think you did bring that up, actually.
Could be.
Could have been. I also was thinking my other theory, too, which I don't know if I brought it up on air or off air, is that, again, it's a similar kind of thing that we've only been isolated to Westeros, Essos. We haven't really seen much else. So, again, like, what's west of Westeros? I think we pan over at the end of the season. Whatever happens doesn't even really matter. And then it's just all wiped out or whatever. And then you pan over. And it's, you're starting to see a little bit of a land with more lights and more things. Then all of a sudden it just kicks into, I'll be there for you.
Oh. Yeah, see, I think that's a decent ending. It's not as good as the ending that's going to happen, which is we're going to kind of, everyone's going to get wiped out. And then we're going to pan out. We're going to see the continent of Westeros in the sea. We're going to see Essos next to it. We're going to kind of pan out a little bit more. The sun's going to glint off the water just right. It's going to look all beautiful, pristine, and white and bright. You're going to pan out farther. You're going to see more and more continents. No, cornflakes. They're in a bowl of cereal. Scooped up by George R.R. Martin, who just eats them. And then
Fiber's
simultaneously takes a shit. Oh. Well, of course, one of those three things is going to happen in 5 episodes' time. But in episode 1, we start off in a scene heavy with callback to season 1, episode 1, with an army marching in to Winterfell. Dany has arrived. They wasted no time with that, which I appreciate. I didn't want to see them having to deal with finagling to get to Winterfell. I like that they just cut to it. I didn't really have any doubt on that, but I like that we see it. I like the kid watching the army, being reminiscent of Arya doing that. Climbing, being reminiscent of Bran doing that, blah, blah, blah. It's good stuff. What did you guys think of the introductions?
Good. So my overarching comment on the episode, which goes into the introductions, because I feel like that's really the central theme of this episode, was just characters meeting that have not met for a long time, or characters meeting that have not ever met. And that was really the majority of the show. And I'm glad in a way that I kind of hope that this was the episode that just gets all that out of the way. Not to say I didn't like it, because I did like those reunions. I thought some of them were very good, very emotional. I enjoyed all that. There were things I wanted to see, things we've been waiting for a long time, but there's also a lot more killing I want to see.
Sure.
I didn't see much.
We lost a few sailors, and that might be it. Well, we lost a few sailors, presumably a castle full of people.
Yes, presumably, yes.
But we only saw one child. And I think that was it.
Yeah, no like central, no big name deaths.
Are you trying to imply that the 9-year-old Lord Umber was not near and dear to your heart?
A huge loss.
I didn't even know who that was, to be honest.
Oh, my gosh. Well, all right.
Did we have him on our list?
No.
So
yeah, we had, but we had
so
Dario.
no one's pulling ahead yet.
But we had Dario Naharis on our list, who we pretty much have confirmed is not going to be in this season.
In that procession into there, I think Arya seeing them come in was, I don't know if it was necessary, because she sees Jon, she sees other people. I mean, the Hound, and just doesn't say anything. And I don't know why, right?
I liked it, actually. Just because of the kind of shadow that it has to her in the first season, where she sees everyone before they're there. But whereas in the first season, she's excited and everything. And here I think she is excited. When she sees Jon, she almost goes to say something and she kind of holds back a little bit. I think she's really just getting a feel, Yeah,
and I was going to say, so I think that she's no longer a kid, right? And she gets that this is not a happy gathering, right? This is something, it's like, look, we're all here, yay. It's like, wait a minute, we're all here because we're all going to die. This is it. That whole build up to the war, oh no, we are now doing this. No more waiting. And I think she gets that.
You're so right. And I think that's super evident in just a few moments after that, when we finally, 7 seasons in the making, get the Arya and Jon Snow reunion, which had me choking up a little bit.
Yeah.
I have been aching for this moment, so much so that I didn't think we were necessarily going to get it until that trailer dropped. And even then I kind of thought it was teasing me. And the fact that they worked a little bit of tension into that moment at first pissed me off. And then I think really set the tone of everything for me. Where this is, for all intents and purposes, ignoring the last scene, kind of a happy episode. And the fact that there is still this underlying thread, even between these characters who should have nothing but just pure joy for a minute or two about seeing each other again, I think is really cool.
So I'll start there then, fine, because that did piss me off too. Because I was because we all know how I feel about Sansa. Fuck that. No way the Arya's she's the smartest woman I've ever known. And Jon's like, what why the fuck would you say that? Really? She's the smartest person you've ever known. Sansa. The girl gets makes some of the dumbest decisions ever in this show, and she's the one that you think is smart? And I get what she's saying in the sense that she is maybe learning to play the game now, and Arya is looking up to her in that sense. But I don't think Sansa has ever came off as the one that you look up to making good decisions.
I mean, I think since Arya's been back in the picture, Sansa's been pretty freaking cunning.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean the things that she did prior are void.
But Arya wasn't around.
Yeah, you got to remember, Arya doesn't know her like we do, right? She only knows her from when they recently met up, which they did the whole Lord Baelish trick thing, and she's obviously been managing Winterfell pretty well. And I agree with you in the sense that, yeah, I wouldn't call Sansa the most cunning, given her history that we know, but Arya doesn't know that,
I don't know. I just thought it was a weird thing. I mean, I know she makes the point of family and those things, and she's like, no, we won't stand against each other, and you need to remember that. At the end of the day, we are supposed to be one family. And I think that's what Jon reads at the end of that. But initially when that statement was made of don't make fun of her. He's like, what are you talking about? Like, you guys don't get along. And she's like, well, that's over. Now it's like, we are one kind of thing.
It's also kind of a moment when I was realizing that from some aspects, this is certainly not true, but like just looking at personalities strictly, Arya and Sansa and Bran have grown up a phenomenal amount.
Totally.
And Jon Snow might be clinging to a little bit of this, like he's like, hey, let's jump back in, and Arya's like, shit's different now. Like,
right.
You know, I'm happy you're here, and yeah, we're getting after that paper, but
yeah, and John definitely still has that whole like doofus kind of thing occasionally, right? Where it's like, John, no, we explained this, and this. He's like, oh, I get it now. Sorry, late to the party. And you're like, oh, John. But I mean, I feel like that's very much still his character, where I agree, everyone else has become more mature and developed more into a more complex person. John still has that whole, I'm the bastard son, and, you know, I've kind of fallen my way into things, and I just make irrational decisions like chasing Rickon down.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily go so far as to say that I think he's lost a bit of the brooding, but just from an element of John is still a little like wide-eyed.
True.
You know, he's got a very optimistic view of things. So far as he said, like, hey, you know, we're all going to be fucked, blah, 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 blah. But like also he is just kind of being like, hey, here's all these people. I brought them in. It's no big deal. All right? It's no big deal. Everyone's fine with it. It's going to be great. And it's not great. There's a lot of tension. What do you guys think about the interesting introduction of Daenerys and Sansa and the couple scenes that we get from that?
I kind of expected it. I didn't really expect Sansa to welcome anyone into Winterfell. Like, her character too, just driven by her development and all the things that have happened. Not only being from the north and already being kind of stubborn and not necessarily welcoming to others, she's gone through a lot of shit to make her very wary of strangers. So I think she has a relative right to be a little bit off-putting, but.
And I think they make Dany a bitch in this episode.
I kind of got that vibe right from the get-go as well. I mean, they pulled back from it pretty quickly, but that whole scene where she's riding, she's feeling uncomfortable, the dragons come by and literally terrify people, and she starts like smiling.
Yeah, I feel like I would almost argue that they're setting up already the crazy Dany in a way. Like
okay. I don't know if we want to jump to the end now, but I have a counterpoint.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get there, but we can talk about then, but I felt like Dany's character comes off almost a little psychotic in this episode on a couple different interactions where you're like, oh shit, that's uncomfortable. And you're smiling. That's fucking weird. Where everyone else is like, that's uncomfortable.
At least no matter what tension brews, we can count on abrupt Bran to break that tension with a knife. We don't have time for this. They have your dragon. He's dead now. The wall is burned and we're fucked. And I'm just like, yes, Bran, yes.
Man, Brad, you just cut to the chase.
Oh,
I like how. I like how John just doesn't really say anything about all that. Like,
yeah,
this is new to John, right? I mean, this.
Yeah.
No, it's new to everyone.
He doesn't ask what happened. He doesn't really say anything about it. He just kind of takes it.
I guess I'm curious as to how much John is in the know, because there has to be at least a little bit of Raven communication or something, because he asks where Arya is.
Sure.
So he knows that she arrived. So I assume there's something there. And John did know that Bran went north. From Sam, he knew that there was something weird going on. So I don't... Maybe he expects a little bit of oddness. Maybe he's just biting his tongue for now. I don't know. I liked Sansa and Tyrion's conversation. I thought was very cool. They kind of have... Well, first of all, we get a little bit of an introduction with everyone. In the throne room, I don't know, dining room of Winterfell. People are chatting. Sansa's like, okay, yeah, this is great. The army's all cool, but what are we going to feed them? And what do dragons eat? And Daenerys just goes, whatever they want, and like glares at Sansa.
Glares at everyone in the room almost,
Yeah.
of like, including
Icy as
you.
hell.
Yeah.
But it made me chuckle. And then, then her and Tyrion get to have a little bit of a conversation. To which the person I was watching it with went, "Do you think they're technically still married?"
Oh God, thinking you were. I was about to say that. I was like, so they're husband and wife. Do you think that sticks?
No, I think like from a Westerosi law perspective, because I did get my degree in Westerosi law. I didn't finish, but I think that I have a little bit of
Two
say.
semesters.
You got your degree, you just didn't take the bar.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just not licensed.
Yeah. They never consummated the marriage, and then she has been remarried. So I think that she's probably unclaimed goods.
I mean, 3 marriages, rough life.
3.
Just 2.
Joffrey. Oh, sorry. She was betrothed to Joffrey. My bad.
She never officially married Joffrey.
Yeah, I don't know why I missed that one, but
She's always had a rough boo.
Yeah.
Beside her. But I liked their conversation a lot. I liked because I kind of get in the circumstances how Tyrion falls for Cersei's thing, but with the amount of like thinking he's had to do since then, the fact that Sansa has to go like, "I thought you were the cleverest person I had ever met," and just walk away to like basically tell him like, "Don't be a doughy-eyed idiot." Of course she's not going to help you. Like, of course.
And it was, and again, Tyrion, even in the dining hall where he kind of steps in, trying to explain, "Hey, no, this is a good thing. We're all here together. I know that there's some questions of who kind of who are we honoring and all the things, and who is in this room is royalty, your king versus the queen now." And I feel like Jon doesn't give a good speech or explanation. He kind of stumbles through that in a way.
I feel.
I mean, it wasn't satisfying, and I feel like the people in the room are like, "Fuck you! Like, we made you king. You gotta show more respect to that." And he's like, "Fuck royalty. None of that matters." And again, like, that's kind of blunt. Maybe it should have been that simple of like, who cares who your leader is? Unless we do this together, none of us make it out.
It's.
And Dany doesn't help. Dany makes it super awkward in the room as always.
Yeah, Hans, what did you get from the vibe of that whole thing?
I don't know. I get the North being upset about it, but what else was Jon gonna do anyway, right?
Yeah.
The thing I don't understand about that whole dynamic is the show's obviously trying to build some sort of framework for just tension between Dany and Jon, and having him be, the heir and all this stuff. But them also being in love with each other and also being family, and also
really all
like
the arcs.
It's just that I don't necessarily really know where they're going with it, and I can't quite figure it out. But I think it does do something, right? So if he's the heir, but then he already kind of in the North's mind, he kind of already gave up his, like, he didn't want to be king for them, but then he's gonna find out that he's actually the birthright king of the whole thing. And I guess I don't even know how like, if you're the North, how do you take that then? Like, I don't know. It's kind of a strange dynamic. I don't really know what's going to make out of it.
Which is the original reason why I said that Jon wouldn't care, that it would be Daenerys who's the one who has an issue with Jon's lineage. The end of the episode makes me kind of second guess that a little bit, but we'll get to it in a moment. I do want to just reassure anyone who's listening who might be bummed out with our dredging up all this shit. We're trying to get into the nitty gritty. We're trying to look forward, and we're trying to dissect things. I did very much enjoy this episode.
I thought it was good. And then the whole Three Amigos conversation we're talking about, Dany and Jon, Severus, Tyrion, and Davos, when they're like, "Yeah, a proposal is exactly what I propose." I was like, yeah, I mean, it's such a short. I feel like the whole engagement, marriage thing in the Game of Thrones seems to be very quick, right? They're like, "You guys look good together. You guys should get married."
Yeah, Tyrion playing it close to his chest doesn't let in on the fact that he knows they're fucking. seemingly. I mean, unless that conversation happened off screen. Seemed like it did not.
No, I don't think it does.
I do want to just change tones and talk about the next bit, which is my favorite bit of the episode, and I'm sad to say that it involves Euron Greyjoy. But it does, because Cersei Lannister is by a goddamn country mile my favorite part in every aspect of this episode. First off, we go to King's Landing. Euron and the Golden Company arrive at court. We meet Captain Strickland, who has a weird voice and a weird face, and I don't like him. I already want to punch him. It's great. Euron does his typical little pouty emo thing of like, why won't you just suck it? And she's like,
just a tip.
Yeah, she has that great line, you want a whore, buy one, you want a queen, earn her, and which has been memed to death already. And walks away, and you can see Lena Headey's acting the next 10 minutes after that is incredible. You can see it in her where she just has the cogs turning. She's like, this'll take a little bit of my time. It secures something. It prevents a disaster. Whatever. And so her and Euron bone. Did not see this coming.
Did not see that coming out.
Very much not expecting it. They bone. First of all, by the way, Golden Company's introduced. She's like, you got 20,000 men. He's like, yes. She's like, you got 2,000 horses. He's like, yes. She's like, and you've got elephants. And he's like, well, we can't really take them on the boats. And she's like, well, that sucks ass. So obviously, the first thing anybody would say in post-coital talk as Euron Greyjoy pulls up his pants is, I really wanted those elephants. Which is the best line of the whole episode. She's just sitting there drinking. And then Euron's kind of talking. He's prompting her further. She's kind of like, teasing enough out of him to keep him interested. And but there are just a couple moments where she has these looks when he talks about a baby. She kind of has this little flash of a smile to get him off. And the second like that door shuts, there's just like an almost split second of her crying that goes away. It was awesome. I loved every moment of the Cersei bits that we got in this episode.
So we agree, not pregnant.
I think she is pregnant. I think she's upset that it's, Jaime's gone. I think that's hitting her.
Yeah. Because even when he said, like, I took it, even when he said Kingslayer, I didn't necessarily take her kind of expression or her emotion as like, oh, about that. I took it much more as like her feels for Jaime kind of thing. Like at this point, like she's got to know that most people know about that. I don't think she cares.
I don't think she cares.
I do like that subtlety of like, if you're just kind of watching at the surface level, you think like, oh, she's just kind of shocked that he knows that it's her brother and they're doing it or whatever. But I think it was much deeper than that. That like just even bringing up him makes her realize like what she just did and, feeling this remorse and guilt in my mind, which again is not something she necessarily ever feels or we see out of her. So I thought that was pretty powerful for that, short of a moment,
Does she know at the end that he's going to Winterfell?
Yeah. Yeah. They mention it in the show.
Okay.
Because in the subsequent least favorite part of the episode that I have, Qyburn comes in and hires Bran to seemingly assassinate.
Oh God,
Tyrion
I know.
and Jaime.
What a dumb fucking.
And does say like the Queen's brothers will most likely not survive their northern excursions. Seemingly they know, obviously, but that and the whole thing. The prostitute thing was funny. It was our only juggly moment of the show, which is great. We checked that box. It was a nice moment from the aesthetic, but it was funny. It was fine. Why? I don't get it. Like the only line that kind of redeems it is Qyburn's thing of like poetic justice. Like I guess it would be poetic for Bronn to kill Tyrion and or Jaime with the crossbow or with whatever, but it's just so. It seems so forced from a narrative perspective. In my head, Cersei would kill this dude, not pay him a bunch of money.
Yeah. And I actually just I didn't like any of that because it doesn't fit the story for me. It doesn't even. Cersei, I don't think she has any interest in killing Jaime. I just don't see it. Tyrion, fuck. I mean, I
sure.
think she would do anything to Tyrion. She could care less but she could care less how he dies, probably. Although, I mean, she likes having meaning behind her traps and all those things. But Jaime, like, the crossbow, the whole, your dead son, love that cross. I mean, I don't know.
I thought that was dumb.
At this point, I don't think Bran would go through with it, but like the fact that he even seems to consider it, seems to accept, like, do you really think at this point he's that money crazed to just like do with that? I didn't buy it. And
I don't expect that the writers of the show even think that we would buy that. So it just seems weird. And I'm thinking there's got to be, I'm hoping that that's a bigger setup to some other plot line or something, or some twist, because it doesn't make any sense to me. It seems too obvious. Like, it seems too weird. It's like something else is going on. Like, Cersei knows how much time Bronn spent with Jaime and knows how much time he spent with Tyrion. So unless it was just from a standpoint of she thinks that he's the only guy that could get close enough to then kill them or something, but I just don't see her thinking that he's actually going to do it.
No. But my heart did actually drop when Qyburn started talking and walked in, because I thought we were going to get a Pycelle type moment where kids just swarm in and stab Bronn or something.
Yeah.
I thought we were about to lose him.
Yeah, for sure.
And that would have been actually a pretty significant loss in the show already. Yeah. That probably would have been a good way to kill him.
So,
anyway, like the whole Pox girl or whatever.
Weird.
Yeah,
that was a weird statement too. But props to Bronn, by the way. Just a little side comment. Killer cooldown time.
It's true.
Just immediately.
Well done, Bronn. Do you guys want to? I think we're about to get into some cool stuff. So, do you guys have a least favorite part of the episode that you want to touch on, if we haven't already?
CG dragons.
I think I have some competing least favorite parts. One we have not talked about, which we're getting to, which has to do with CG dragons. One that we just talked about, and that's the Bronn scene. And again, it's isolated to this episode. If that storyline pans out, sure, that's fine. But right now, forced. Seems weird.
Yeah. Okay. Well then, right before the CG dragons, just because I think this also probably stems on that level, somehow, pretty easily and simply, Theon rescues Yara in like 45 seconds.
Yeah, no biggie.
Time.
Yeah.
Which, on the one hand, they make a point to say, and they have said it before, like, Euron cut out the tongues of all of his crew members. So when he's not around, no one can yell or anything. So if they got into the ship without being noticed, I kind of buy it. But the fact that they got away, it seemed very easy. I was really pegging one of them to die in this episode. I thought the rescue would happen. I thought it would kill one of them. And the fact that they just kind of both got away, I did like the little thing where Theon kind of not only gets the courage to rescue his sister, then gets the courage to like leave her and say like, I gotta go help these guys, and what is dead may never die, but kill the bastards anyway. That's a pretty good.
I like that. So then is Yara just going back to the Iron Islands? Like, we're done with her? That's it?
I guess so.
Okay.
Do you think her statement of like having a place for Dany to retreat is because they know Winterfell's gonna fall?
I don't know. I think Yara probably just wants to go home.
No, I know, but I mean, do you feel like that's like a writer's having an explanation that they needed to have that happen so Yara can go home so that they can have a place to go? That would be away from, off of the beaten path and everything like that.
Maybe.
But is it dragons?
I bet we don't see the Iron Islands again.
What about Dragonstone? You think we see Dragonstone again?
I don't think for any merit. Once they introduce a dragon with the army of the dead, the ocean thing kind of becomes irrelevant. So unless they down that dragon pretty quickly.
Yeah, and you can always then raise the dead there and then create another army there.
True.
Yeah, I don't know what the reach is like, to be honest.
It's like got a good 100-yard thing,
Oh.
It's visualization, maybe, so maybe it's a little more. So
Nice. Is it centered on the caster, or do you have to pick a point within range?
a point within range is what I
Point within
understand.
range. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's super useful then. That's a great AoE.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we're clear on that.
All right, let's talk dragons then. Danny and John, they're having a little chat. Danny says, "Oh my gosh, the dragons aren't eating. We gotta go see them." Dragons seem to be doing okay.
Eating okay, yeah. Danny no longer is worried about them eating well. It's like, fuck it, we're fine.
She's like, "Yeah, they're malnourished. Let's take them for a test drive." and we see what, I gotta be honest, should have been a bigger moment, a more emotional moment than the kind of lighthearted thing that they played it off.
Yeah.
But it was kind of satisfying to watch. John ride a dragon.
Yeah, it was fine, but I mean, they played it up, which again, granted, it is riding a freaking dragon. So, like, I get that it would not just be supernatural. But, I mean, they did play it kind of, almost comedy sketch-like of him, him kind of...
Hand almost falling off.
Yeah, falling off and all this stuff. And I don't know. It was fine.
Yeah. It should have been a cooler moment. But, it didn't look good. The dragons I thought looked fine. Anytime they're shown riding them, it doesn't look good. I don't care that much. We've established that.
No.
They're doing what they can.
And I was thinking about this too when I was watching it, and anytime the scene, in my opinion, is panned back, even if they're on the dragons, if it's more of like a top shot and you see the full dragon, you see the full scenery, and they're less of the focal point of the scene, I think it looks
good.
great. Or even when the dragons land and they're like panning down on them, I think it looks phenomenal. It's just when they do, and why, just stop doing that motherfucking cut. Stop doing that shot where it's like right on their face, and or it's like kind of on the side of Danny when it's so obviously like green screened and all that stuff. Yep. Just don't do it. We get it.
We get it.
We get it. You got a lot of fucking money to burn.
What did you guys think about the? I got heavy egret vibes from that scene. Alone by some frozen water.
Yeah.
We could stay here forever.
Yeah, that was. Yeah,
that was weird.
Strangely, yeah.
I kind of like John, not the most jovial, pun sort of person. But when Danny's like, we could stay here for 1,000 years, and he goes, we'd be very old.
Yeah. And then there's like the kind of, again, the whole scene was just, it was almost too lighthearted. And I think the issue here is that the entire audience watching knows that they're related. Right. So like if they make it,
that's what's being pressed.
So like how else are you going to play it out? If you play it too serious or too heavy, it's just going to be kind of gross. So you almost got to keep it lighthearted. But then they go as far as to have like John like one eye in the dragon as he's kissing Daenerys. It's just
so what was that? That's what I wanted to ask. Like I still don't understand it. And then the dragon's like
it was weird. Yeah. His cousin like dragons just
like crazy eyes. Hey, brah.
Oh, that was. I think that was just supposed to be a weird, awkward moment. I thought it was funny.
And doesn't Danny know the history of dragon riders? Like it's only Targaryen.
It's not. That's never been established in the show, so I don't know if that's something that they're going for. I have seen that online, and that it is very much a thing in the books. Not Targaryens, but Valyrians.
Sorry, Valyrian. Yeah. But still, like you would think that. I don't know.
Yeah. So if that is something they're going for in the show, because Viserys did talk about dragons a lot and Daenerys knew about them growing up, yes, she should know that. And it certainly seems like they're implying that Jon has a pretty good knack for it. I mean, they've definitely implied it with him just being able to touch the dragon.
Yeah.
So I can't really feel if they're trying to insert that lore or not. I'll be interested to see how it plays out.
So besides like Tyrion, Jon, and Dany, has anyone else been able to pet the dragons essentially?
Well, we had a bunch of people ride him to get out of the north. I bet they probably sneaked in a couple paths.
Yeah. Cat A.
Yeah. I think that was it.
Right. I was just trying to think if any of us had any positive interactions
Except when they were little.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because the one chick would carry one of them, right?
Yeah.
The one that stole him?
Yeah. And she got locked in a safe, you know.
God, that's gonna be super fun.
All right. In another great acting moment that I gotta be honest, I didn't like the first time I watched it. I liked it the second time I watched it very much. That was, I want to say John Cryer. His name isn't John Cryer, is it? What's Sam's actor's name? I'm
not sure.
I'm not sure.
But Samwell Tarly being told by Danny that his family was roasted alive, kind of.
Super psychopathic moment.
John Bradley. John Cryer's from 2.5 Men. Very good acting there. The thing I didn't like the first time is it looks like he really gets teared up when she tells him about his dad, who he hates.
Thank you. Thank you.
But then I got thinking about it. So, well, it's not in Sam's character to really hate anybody. And then the second time I watched it, he doesn't really get choked up so much as he is just like kind of emotionally affected by the news. Because he even does kind of give like a nervous little giggle. Like, it's rocked his world. It doesn't mean that it's devastated him. I get that his brother's death really affects him in a bit of a different way. And I think that it's affecting him, as we see in the next scene, in the sense that he is learning more about her very quickly, very aggressively, and through a very specified point of view. What do you guys think about this scene? Because I also talked to some people who felt that Sam, if he's going to be the wedge between Jon and Dany, seems a little forced.
And that's what I was going to say. So I felt like he had an extreme overreaction in the sense
his
that
brother and father being melted.
Yeah. To the dad especially. It's like he in the same like minute span asked for a pardon for essentially betraying his family, and yet then is so heartbroken about a family that doesn't seem to have cared or taken care of him or been pleasant to him in a very long time.
I don't know.
And he goes from like being upset to being vengeful almost, like in a like, let me now with this very heavy weighted disastrous information, the most powerful thing that's ever been said on the show, let me just rush and tell Jon this, and so that he understands he's got to be the king.
Well, that wasn't his idea. That's
No.
Bran's idea.
But he's doing it in a mindset that he just found out that his father and brother were roasted by the current queen.
Sure.
So it seems like, okay, well, here's my revenge. I'm going to go tell Jon.
Yeah, I thought the scene was good. I enjoyed it. I think anyone telling you I don't know the connection he has with his brother. So I bought that part of it. And I just kind of took it all in together. And I actually kind of liked the scene. And it was funny when I was watching it, as I was watching it, I totally forgot, just wasn't even thinking about the fact, in the beginning of that conversation, which I think is exactly what they wanted in that conversation, because, again, these characters don't know that they have that connection when they first start talking.
Right.
And it comes off very lighthearted. I liked the scene where Sam's kind of asking for pardon, and Jorah's in the background kind of laughing because it's a bit of, it's so like, Sam's so nervous and all this stuff asking for this, and it's such a minor request, and Jorah's kind of in the back snickering or laughing, and then it just, just immediately flips when they discover this, and I kind of like to see how the scene played out. I didn't necessarily take Sam telling Jon as necessarily like revenge or in spite or anything. When I first watched it, I guess I could see how you could maybe come to that conclusion a little bit now, but to me that's all just driven by Bran and just the Sam wanting to do what's right or wanting to tell Jon the truth, and this is big information, it is important, and I think if anything, not necessarily revenge, of just kind of learning who Daenerys is and all this stuff. Like, Sam doesn't really have significant connections to Daenerys, but he does to Jon. So that information he's not going to just withhold from Jon. So I don't know. I thought it all played out fine.
If anybody out there listening in does have a Bran is the villain theory, Bran would know what state of mind Samwell's in, and if he's trying to push a button in a certain way, he's gonna be playing into that.
Maybe.
I don't think that. Well, it could be. I'm just saying. Yeah, so Sam, gosh, too many three-letter names, goes into the crypts to tell Jon about his true parentage. In what is like the third time that we've heard it, the first time that Jon is hearing it, in another kind of echoed scene where in the crypts we're with Lyanna's statue, we're talking about Robert and her, like, it's a powerful moment. It is from a tonal perspective, from a visual perspective, with the lighting things that they did with Kit's face and everything. It could be nothing. It could be a false, red herring type of thing. It was dark for a minute there. It kind of seemed like Jon might be the one to turn, because everything about my being and my understanding of Jon's character leads me to say that, yeah, he'd absolutely be shaken up at the news, but his questions would be about his parentage, or about how did they know, or this, that, and the other thing. His questions are about, like, Daenerys is queen. It's treason. Like, it's like, it's hesitation about doing something with this information.
Right, like he gets what the information means.
Yes, which could be just him being cautious, saying like, "Hey, I don't want this to come out," like, which is what I've kind of suspected. But the way that they played it out tonally seemed a bit more nefarious to me. If they try to turn Jon into a villain, I will be upset.
See, I didn't get the villain thing. I think I think he realizes, and I think rightfully, this information is the end of Dany and him, or should be by all accounts, right?
Sure.
I don't think in a person who has been so hesitant with love and everything, I don't think he would let himself have an incestual relationship at all. And on top of that, he knows now that when the truth is found out, the people of the North will never accept her, right?
Oh, because if we're going to take a Targaryen, why don't we just have the one we know?
We'll take our king, right? Now our king literally is the king. Now, the question is will they accept now him no longer being a Stark? Because they said, you are king of North because we have chosen you. We didn't necessarily choose you because you were a Stark. Yes, you were raised...
Well, he was never a Stark.
Right. He was raised, essentially, in the Stark house. So they feel that connection. Yeah. But he is the king of the North because he's the king of the North.
But I don't know, though, because they even say, again, I think there's both sides to that as well that you could argue, because they, on one hand, they do say, we're choosing you as king of the North, but they also mention in another scene, I can't remember exactly what scenes, but in that whole line of events, or some of those northern people, they say he's still got Stark blood in him, or like he's still got, the blood of the Starks and stuff, which
he does.
Now he obviously doesn't, right?
Well, he still does.
Yeah, because
I guess he's still got
his mom is
Stark. Yeah, that's a good point. I wasn't even thinking of that.
And that actually, I think, solidifies the North.
Women count. So, I mean, yeah, so exactly. Like, right in Jeremy's line of thinking, then there's absolutely no way. Well, they already don't want to accept Daenerys, so.
Well, that's my point, is they already feel that way, and now you're going to literally give them the easiest solution. And Dany is going to flip the fuck out. And we have already seen crazy building in this episode.
And that's cool. That's what I hope for. And again, if they're going to do it with Jon, I'm sure they'll do it justice. I am along for this ride, but it's not something that I was prepared to see. So I'm interested to see how it plays out.
And I know she's going to die, but I actually am not looking forward to it.
I'm starting to second guess it, actually. I'm terrible at predicting things. I can never stick to anything. I'm ready to see, man. I tell you what. Speaking of predicting, I tried to convince you guys so hard, and you wouldn't fall for it, but finally I was proven right. I told you all along that Tormund and Beric weren't dead. I knew it.
Called it.
All right, yeah, somehow they lived. They are up. It's tough for me to tell from that scene whether they were with the Night's Watch and then they were like searching the castle, and then they re-met up, or if they somehow met up with the Night's Watch in that castle, which seems like it would be real coincidental. I don't know, but Tormund and Ed have a pretty funny moment with stay back, his eyes are blue. My eyes have always been blue.
So I'm assuming they're both working their way south, right? The Night's Watch got the Raven. Fuck that. Come down here now. But they've got to realize that they're essentially the army now is ahead of them, so they're trailing this entire time.
Yeah, they say at some point. Ed says at some point, like, here's the last place they were saw or something, and Tormund says, if the horses hold out, we should beat them to Winterfell. Seemingly knowing the pace at which they're moving, but it's kind of unclear. Also, the scene with the kid on the wall was absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, holy shit.
That gave me almost nightmares.
Yeah, that was a little rough.
I could see it from the second that it's like Tormund in a third of the screen. I was like, oh, that kid is gonna fucking open his eye.
It was so well done, though.
Oh, it was very good.
So initially, I thought the kid was alive, as in like literally alive, and like had been pinned there and not dead. And then I was like, oh no, this is okay, never mind.
That freaking scream too.
Oh.
Kept going and kept getting weirder and weird. Jeremy mentioned it before we actually started recording. Do you guys think there's going to be some sort of explained symbology behind the weird art projects of the White Walkers?
I kind of hope so. It's cool. Like, I like the mystery behind it. I like to think that there's something else going on, but who knows?
He's like, now guys, I'm going for a circle feel. So no corners, just circles.
I mean, I kind of even took that whole thing as being, a step further to the symbolism, in the sense that the kid was staked through the heart, kind of like the White Walkers were made, And then on, not only that, on the symbol, on all that, like, I kind of took the whole thing as some sort of sign or some sort of message. And who knows if that's exactly what it was or not. It also just kind of looked cool from the standpoint of being fucking scary as shit.
Yeah. Did look quite cool. Our final scene of the episode is a hooded figure riding into Winterfell. I don't know why he's hooded up. His hair is different. He's got a beard. No one would ever recognize Jaime Lannister from the first season, as he looks nothing alike.
No. Did you know who it was immediately when you saw the hooded figure?
I did not.
Me either. I admit I had no idea.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking Bran actually initially.
I don't know. I literally had no thoughts. It could have been somebody new. It could have been. I was just like kind of interested in seeing it. And then I wasn't surprised. I figured Jaime would kind of get north this episode or the next, so it didn't surprise me. But it was a cool moment. And then I like that they ended just on him and Bran.
I thought it was funny, not at all ominous. I thought it was like hilarious.
Yeah. Well, I'm 100% expecting Bran to not give a shit.
Yeah.
Just like he does with everything else. He doesn't care.
He won't even, man. He probably won't even say anything.
I just want him to like raise his hand and be like,
huh?
And then put his hand back down and go on to staring at someone else. We don't have time for this.
There are so many memes about this freaking episode already. Have you guys seen the one that's like Bran and it's like Jaime like looking at Bran and Bran's just holding up a picture of like a crappy child's drawing of like two people having sex and it's like you and your sister.
I thought the only thing that moment did anything, as far like for me anyway, was that it was just another callback to the first episode of the show, which was kind of cool. It just brought it full circle. This episode was very much an ode to the original episode, so
yeah,
I kind of liked that. I think it from the standpoint of like saying a lot through one little scene, to me it kind of brought me back through the whole show, and it kind of reinforced this central theme of this season, or this, where we've come. The show's like, shit, that doesn't matter at all. Like, that was the biggest cliffhanger of the first episode, and like that was so much happened because of that moment, and now we've come all the way back around, and now thinking back, it's like, well, that doesn't really mean shit now. You know what I mean? And it's I just thought it was kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, an interesting lesson in perspective. I thought it was great. First episode, ain't gonna win any awards, but I thought it was really solid. I enjoyed it. Was it worth the 2 goddamn years of waiting? I don't know, but I was really giddy, and I did not sleep very much on Sunday night.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I think, granted, it's kind of like all the seasons, right? When we went back and reviewed a lot of these episodes, how many times did we say, like, oh, watching this episode the first time when you don't know what's going to happen was very interesting, was cool. Watching it again, kind of knowing the outline of the story, either made episodes good or bad, or single moments good or bad. And I think this episode's the same way. I mean, I was far too hyped to objectively assess this episode, right? Like,
have you only watched it once?
I've only watched it once.
Oh, you poor man.
3 times for me.
I just I don't even know if I could watch it more than once. I thought the episode was fine, but again, it's just a lot of character reunions, and it was really, to me, again, getting a lot of that stuff out of the way for what I assume to be a pretty intense season. So,
What do you think of Arya's weapon with Gendry?
Oh, yeah, I tried to pause it and take a look and see what it was.
It looks like a staff that's split, but connects via like a tube and insert, and then the tip is like a double-edged spearhead sword.
Wait a minute, Jeremy. What was it? Give me that one more time.
It was like a tip and then the hole, and you just
Okay.
and they pull it out. But there was like a mechanism, so when you went in slowly, you could pull it out fast, but then go back in slowly.
Interesting. Yeah, it looked like some sort of spear detachable type thing. I'm just trying to see the benefit.
I think it's gonna be a projectile weapon, like a shooting kind of thing.
But wait, what do you mean a shooting type of thing?
Like just like like a hand,
firearm.
Yeah, like a like a crossbow kind of thing, but not a crossbow.
With what technology that she is enlisting Gendry to make?
Well, Gendry is, he's very good at creating weapons. You see that axe and that shitty looking axe? He's like, you're getting better. I'm like, really? That looks like shit to me, but okay.
Well, it's made out of glass. But yeah, sure, he's a good blacksmith. Doesn't mean he can make guns and shit that don't exist.
Yeah, I think he can though. So
I don't know. I didn't even really. I should have paused it or tried to look at it. I didn't really get a good look at the thing.
I did.
The Gendry Arya, by the way, I know that Arya's had some weird interactions with people. Gendry and Arya was okay. The Hound and Arya was okay.
That was disappointing.
That was disappointing.
I wanted so much more from that interaction. I mean, there were moments when he was smiling. I was like, just say something nice, like you want to. And then you have to be such a dick. Yeah. And it's like, why? Like, you have every bit of respect for what she did. You supposedly have grown from that.
I would have bought it if they didn't have the scene with the Hound and Brienne, where the Hound was like, basically talking her up. Like, she doesn't need no help, and I'm not going to stand in her way, and he like smiles a little bit. Like, the fact that they had that moment kind of ruined this moment a little bit. Also, am I missing something? Where is Brienne?
She was there, wasn't she?
No. Did she go somewhere that I'm not remembering?
Yeah, where did her and Podrick go?
Podrick was there.
Podrick was there?
I thought I saw him.
I don't remember seeing Podrick.
Because they went to King's Landing for the meeting. And then I assumed they just came back with it.
In the procession at the beginning, did you see Brienne and Podrick riding?
I'm Googling it right now. Okay, yeah. So it's a question. It's not... No one knows. Game of Thrones, Season 8. Give us answers. Fans demand to know what happened to Brienne.
I must have seen Podrick in like the last time on Game of Thrones.
Yeah, so...
Because I thought the last Podrick we got was when Bran and Podrick went into the city to do whatever, you know?
I believe it is.
Yeah, you're right.
But why, what would they have had to do besides go back, like
Fuck.
with everyone else. I mean, yeah, sure, but John and Danny managed to do that, and
they were
get there.
fucking on a boat.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, and then like, okay, so maybe they didn't take a boat. Maybe they rode horse for some stupid reason. Then they still didn't beat Jaime. So I don't get it, man. Maybe they're dead. Maybe we're missing something. Maybe very obviously in the end of season 7, Brienne went, Podrick, do you fancy a trip down to Dorne? And he's like, yes, milady. And we totally missed that. But I don't recall. So, guys, we waited a long time. We've essentially built a podcast around this moment. Do you think, I think, Hans, you've been the most critical of it so far. I think that there are certainly things that I would have liked to have seen more. It is very character development oriented. Do you think it was a good start to the last season of Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Jeremy?
Yeah, I was really happy with it. We talked a lot about episodes that are exciting, that have like great battles, and there's really not a lot of thought in it. I think this does. I agree with Hans in the sense I like that you got a lot of the reintroduction of characters, seeing people they haven't seen in a long time, and I think kind of going, okay, we're all here. Let's let the shit happen now. Like, we've all got that fuzzy feeling, but this is Game of Thrones. Like, we know bad is coming. And everyone got their moment of happiness. Yay, all the Starks are happy. They feel like their shit's happening again. And I just feel like it's coming. And we know the big battles in Ep 3, supposedly, right? Like winter.
I said that I predicted that, but I don't know if they've confirmed that.
Oh, I thought they said that oh man, maybe I'm wrong. I thought they said that longest taping of episode was the 3rd episode. I definitely agree with you. If you did, if maybe I'm thinking of just our conversation. Oh, that's soon.
It
the way things are going.
From the preview of the next episode, it looks like they're almost about ready to pop off.
Yeah, and I think that'd be cool if we get whatever fucking shit happens next episode, which can't be too crazy, because I feel like this fragile alliance, even in Winterfell, has to maintain some sort of structure for them to have a battle, right? And we know it's gonna come. I feel like Winterfell's falling. I think episode 4 we're going to have like a broken, destroyed army, and I don't know how many dragons we're going to have left.
Shit, son. Things yeah, I mean, it's a great I'm ready to see what happens. I'm pumped for the next one. I think the episode did its job. So I'm ready for number 2. But before we get to that on Sunday, right now, as we're speaking on Wednesday, Hans, tell me about that dark chocolate banana scone.
So you know how I feel about chocolate.
I do know that you have some thoughts on the subject.
First of all, the scone is from the Outpost grocery store, which has backed about 80% of my scones, I would say, at this point.
So you did not stick to the treaty of we're baking all the scones for season 8?
No.
Okay.
I've baked enough scones, I feel
Perfect.
like.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that at all. I don't
so I say Jenna has baked enough scones at this point.
Jenna, the new fan favorite cast member, by the way.
Yeah, didn't take much.
No, the bar is low.
So the dark chocolate banana scone, it's okay.
We're home, boys.
feels right now.
We'll be back next week on Wednesday. I think that this works out well. It's kind of awkward. Obviously, Sunday we're hyped and everything, but we just can't record and edit it, get it out there. We want to have time to compress our feelings and thoughts and get something slightly concise out to you guys in a seemingly timely fashion. So if you have any other thoughts about a day that would work better, you can go fuck yourself, but you can also email us at thronesandscones@gmail.com. And as of right now, we'll plan to be back next Wednesday with Season 8, Episode 2. Get down with G-O-T!
Yeah, you know me.
You know me. I don't even think we mentioned it formally. What was your guys' favorite parts? What was your favorite part of the episode?
Cersei was my favorite part of the episode.
Oh yeah, you did say that, Jeremy.
I probably just Arya in the show, and I mean that in the sense like all her interactions I thought were really good and interesting. Like there was that comment of like MVP should be Sansa from all of her glares and her kind of like witty remarks, but I thought Arya's like working through the characters was the best part for me. So I enjoyed that stuff the most.
I thought her and Gendry's interaction was a bit goofy.
It was odd. Yeah,
it was almost
better.
like they're trying to make
once
a
they
little.
started to smile.
I think they're trying to make a relationship that's not there.
Yeah, they're trying to make a little love connection there.
Yeah.
Sounds what I got out
It's
of
like,
that.
you look good, and she's like, yeah, you do too? And I'm like, yeah. Say it with a question mark, because fuck that. Don't do that.
I was kind of into it when they were hinting at it seasons ago. I don't want it no mo.
Yeah, me either.
As things stand right now, get it out. Get it out.
Yeah, he's a weak character for her to like, in my opinion.
If Arya is, she should be fucking a dragon or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
my favorite episode, my favorite part of the episode, and it's not going to come to a surprise now. The man crush is coming back. I loved the whole bit. I loved the entire scene of Tormund getting the Night's Watch guys, the fucking creepy ass kid on the wall, it was cool. I like that whole thing.
Cool.
Was great.
I thought it was interesting that he stopped, like he was leading the way and then stops at the dark entrance. Is like, fuck that.
well, I kind of expected. I was like, oh, Beric's gonna go forward, light his sword on fire, and then he did not.
And then he did not, exactly. And then he's like, oh, I thought this was like that lighting moment where you light your, nope, not, okay, I'll just follow you.
Beric's like, it's not quite in the budget yet. We need to be more dramatic first. Apparently, they go through those swords like freaking crazy. Apparently, those swords, once lit on fire, do not last long. Well, because they're like they've got jets in them, and I guess they wear them out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And just because I've never given him credit really for anything, I want to give credit. There were, I think, a lot of good lines in the show. I love every line about an elephant, truly.
It was good.
But in the Cersei Euron thing, Cersei's saying, Euron's like, well, maybe you should suck it. And Cersei's like, she's like, you're arrogant, or, she calls him a number of narcissistic names. But she's like, I've killed men for less. And he just goes, they were lesser men. Like, it's a baller line.
Yeah.
You guys both watch Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Euron scene with Cersei reminds me of when Paul Rudd is on Parks and Rec. Yeah. And he's running for office, and he's like the rich, spoiled boy or whatever. He invites Leslie out, and he just goes, just give it to me. But I want it. Just give it.
He's like the Candy Empire's son or whatever.
Yeah.
No. I know we're already kind of running a little long here, but now that we're going so long in between episodes, so much has happened. First of all, rest in peace, the Notre Dame.
Yeah, shit.
Yeah, that was fucked up.
Which,
they did save most of the structure, right? They just lost the spire or whatever. Control.
But that spire, that's so sad. I'm very interested to see what story comes out about that, if they can figure out what happened.
Yeah.
But this is not going to sound like it's going to sound like I really don't give a shit. But I have to transition it. We have to, we got to go. Guys, the Star Wars trailer dropped.
Oh, God, I know.
It sounds insensitive, but guys, the Star Wars trailer dropped.
That was pretty out of nowhere, right? I mean, I wasn't ready for that. I was
not ready for that.
I kind of thought it was, when I first saw it, I double-taked, and I kind of thought it was like one of those, YouTube video, like kind of baits or something, where it wasn't actually the trailer. It was like someone just making some shit up or something, or talking about what they think it's going to be. Yeah. But damn, that shit was real.
It was real. I was absolutely expecting to get through Avengers before we saw any sort of Star Wars thing from Disney. But what'd you guys think? First impression. I think Hans and I have talked about it a little bit, but Jeremy, you said you had thoughts.
I'm really excited for it. In the sense that I like that Rey finally looks like she can hold a lightsaber and not be a bitch, and like like look inept at doing it. Like she seems pretty comfortable with it in her hand. I like that it's the Skywalker lightsaber still, and that which I think is cool. The whole TIE fighter Imperial thing, like skimming across the sand to run her over as she's like flipping over it, seems a little dumb
Hans
to me.
didn't like that either. I kind of think it's a Force dream, like a Luke confronting Vader type thing.
I'm okay with that because it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make sense.
Sure, like why wouldn't you just shoot her and be
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
or why wouldn't you, as she was jumping, why wouldn't you just pull up and just smash her and then just fly off? Like who cares?
Fucking-
Sure.
and then,
Like why
then
would you
fucking
stay
flick-
at that level and be like, oh, she's jumping over me with a lightsaber?
Yeah.
She could like
This-
be like beep.
fucking turn it,
explode.
turn it up, smash her, and then flick the windshield wipers on.
Yeah. and then land and get a sweet lightsaber.
I thought it was badass. Yeah, I liked the trailer overall quite a bit. I like that we got some cool scenes that showed us some cool scenery. Don't really know what's going to be going down necessarily.
The Death Star in the water was such a badass scene, right?
It was cool. And there was a lot of speculation from Hans and myself who couldn't be bothered to read. Apparently, it's absolutely confirmed that was Palpatine at the end there.
Oh.
Laughing.
What do you mean? What do you mean it was confirmed?
Like, they said that's who it is. Like,
He's back.
I don't understand how he would be back.
well, so it could be a Force Ghost type thing. But, I mean, in the original extended canon of Star Wars, the Emperor comes back an awful lot. He's got, like, clones and shit. I don't think they're going to go to that level. I think that he's just going to be involved in, like, Kylo or something.
Yeah, because is Kylo a master now? Because he's no longer the apprentice because he killed his master?
I guess so.
And where's his apprentice? That would be kind of cool.
Well, so that'll be interesting because he talked about, like, kind of killing the Sith, killing the Jedi. So maybe they won't go with that, or, maybe he does have an apprentice.
By the way, that was badass when he uses the hilt of the sword to like take the guy down. That was probably the coolest picture.
Super not like practical.
Yeah.
He let that guy get real close.
Yeah, it was pretty badass. Though.
But it
It
was
was awesome
badass.
looking.
It's like in a run. Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I don't know. I have a lot of questions, but I think that's kind of the point.
Obviously, we don't know what it means or anything. So just from what it turns into, it could be great. It could be great. But first impressions, not knowing anything, I think out of every movie that's come out, with the exception of Solo, it's the weakest title.
Yeah, Rise of Skywalker is weak.
Yeah, it just doesn't. I mean,
my
but we
favorite.
don't know how they're gonna.
Yeah,
I
could
was
be good.
reading something with her hugging, Leia and crying. Like that was her like realizing like she's. I mean, because from the books, like Leia and Han have twins.
In the original books.
Yeah,
They got a few kids, but they do have twins, yeah.
but they have twins, and so that was thought to be the twins, the boy and the girl. Again, very much similar to Luke and Leia in that sense.
Who was thought to be the twins?
Oh, like that would be like Rey and them and
Kylo?
and Kylo. But then that wouldn't make no sense because then the entire time when they're talking about how much they love their son, they wouldn't talk about how much they love their daughter.
Yeah, I absolutely think that Rey is absolutely the parent or the child of nobody.
Yeah, because if Rey would be the child of Luke, that would be even more messed up because then that ruins Luke for a lot of people. I'm thinking Rey is the child of Chewbacca.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I think the theory for a while there was that Rey was somehow, and I don't know how it would work, but I think the prevailing theory was that Rey was somehow related to Obi-Wan.
Because they were both British.
Yep, that was the only thing tying them.
I liked
was
the theory,
strong.
though. Especially, there was also the fact that Obi-Wan was in her vision.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan's voice was in her vision. But, yeah.
Or Yoda's baby.
I will say, again, I think I'm learning from Game of Thrones. I just gotta I can healthily speculate, but I just want to be along for the ride because my theory for episode 9 has already been disproven. I thought we were going to time jump like at least 5 years and start with Leia being dead, and it doesn't look like that happened. So,
well, they said that it was a really good ending for her, and I don't know. Obviously, they taped a lot before her death, but yeah, I don't know. She was the weaker part of the last episode. So,
what'd you guys think of Lando coming back?
Thought that was good. If they don't overplay it, I think it'll be cool.
Yeah.
I just rewatched the Solo movie, and it made me like Lando more than initially. The whole cape thing is pretty awesome.
I like Donald Glover a lot. I thought Lando was the weakest part of that movie.
Oh, in Solo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like him. I don't know why. It just, for some reason, it just didn't vibe with me. I actually kind of liked the kid who played Han.
Me too.
I know a lot of people didn't care for him. Okay, I won't say the least. The Darth Maul cameo is the worst part of that movie.
It is the worst part.
Daenerys isn't bad. She's fine. She's okay.
Yeah, but she's
I think
okay.
her character's largely stupid, but her performance is good.
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson is fine, except for the fact that his wife dies, and then he's fine like 10 minutes later.
Thank you. Yeah, that's weird, right?
It's an odd movie, but it's actually the first one. In my head, it's like I still enjoyed it. I liked the movie. I don't think that anyone was terrible. I thought there were some pretty good performances. Paul Bettany was good, but it is the first one I haven't bought. I haven't bought it yet. Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.